Hi everybody, Charlie Thomas here from Triquetra CNC. It's been a while since I put any videos out, but doesn't mean I haven't been busy. Recently I got bit by the laser bug like many of you other guys have, and it's a pretty cool thing to play around with, but it didn't take long before I realized I was missing something, and that is laser zeroing. So I took off and decided it's time to do something about that, and I've got it done now. I'm putting the finishing touches on the update for the Triquetra Tool Box, and so look forward to that coming out here in the next few days. So anyway, I've got my laser hooked up to my X-carve. You can probably see it right about there. So enough chat, let's get to it. Okay, to get things started, you may notice that here on my router I do not have the collet nut installed. I took it off and I'm not using a bit. I've just got the magnet connected directly to the threads on the collet. Now I used a micrometer and measured that, and mine came out to 0.589 inches. And I would be willing to bet that yours will too, so I would say that you could probably just use that as a bit diameter. So what you need to do first off is create a zeroing file. So you'll go to standard zero in the Triquetra Tool Box, left corner, and then right here you're going to put in 589, give it a file name, which probably won't be 1/4 inch end mill text, choose inch mode, and generate the 3-axis file. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. So once you have the file created, then we'll just go to PicSender, which I've got open here, and I've already got the file loaded. I'll reload it here. I've got one called router threads, so we'll just open that up and make sure you're in spindle mode over here. If you're not, it won't work. We'll be switching over to laser mode during this setup, but for now you need to be in spindle mode, because you need to be able for your Z-axis to move up and down. And so I'm going to go ahead and lower my Z-axis now so it's in position for zeroing. And my touch plate, I need to move that, but I don't need to move it 1/2 inch. I'm just going to choose 0.1 inches. And I'll get it jogged over into position. And maybe one more to the left. There we go. You probably can't see that on video, but it's pretty close to the plate, and it's not. I could go a little bit lower, but that's going to be fine. Okay, so now that I've got it into position, make sure my touch plate's up there, and it is. And I'm just going to hit send in PicSender and let it do its thing. There's the first touch on the X-axis. There's the Y-axis. Now it's going to actually probe the X-axis to get a reading. And now back to the Y-axis for its final reading. And now it's going to come over and double tap on the Z-axis and then move back out of the way, just like you were doing a normal bit. Only instead of a normal bit, you're doing just the spindle itself. Okay, that's out of the way. So I'm going to remove my magnet and the touch plate. And now back over up here in PicSender, there's the coordinates where it's located. I'm going to hit go to 0 for the X, the Y, and then the Z. There's the X. And then here comes the Y. And down in the Z. So as you can see, the spindle is now zeroed right over the top of the corner of the material. But my laser is way off. So I hope you can see the laser in there. I think, yeah, I believe you can see part of it anyway. So the next step is we need to raise the Z-axis to a position that we can focus the laser. This is something I should have said earlier, but mine is 2.75 inches to focus it. So what I'm going to do in PicSender, I'm just going to change right here where my jog units are. I'm just going to highlight that and type it in at 2.75, and then I'm just going to jog up 2.75. One click. And it's there. So now that that's there, we're going to zero the Z-axis so we don't lose that position. Okay, and we've also written down that position that I put it at. So 2.75, I've got that written down as an offset. So you'll need to make sure you write down each of your offsets as we go along. I've already got mine written down at 2.75. So now we're going to switch over to laser mode. And you're going to get this warning, just click OK. And verify that your S is 0. Your jog units for your S, which is your laser, is set to 1. And I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to put a filter over my camera lens. I learned yesterday when I was trying to do this that if I don't use a filter over the lens, all you see is a big purple blob. But when I put the green filter over it, actually, you can see it fairly decent. So let me pause for a minute and get that set up, and then we'll continue on. And now with our jog units in laser mode set to 1, we're going to turn our laser on. Just one click, and that's going to set it at a real low power. And I think you should be able to see where that is now. I can't see it in the video screen, but it's right here. Maybe you can see it there on my pen. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start jogging my Y-axis. I've got it set at 0.1 inches, so I'll just use that for now. And I'm going to jog it over until I get that laser right dead on the corner of the MDF I have connected here. And that was just a little bit too far, so I'm going to set my jog units down to 0.002, 2/1000 of an inch. And I'm going to start jogging back this direction. It's going to take a few clicks to get it there, but it'll get there. And you're going to see the laser beam starting to show up on the side of the MDF here in a moment. There we go. You can see it starting to show up. I'm going to say that's getting pretty close. Yeah, I think that's about right. What I'm looking at, and you probably can't tell it in the video very well, but right here on the top corner you can see the laser beam just on the edge of this material. And down here at the bottom, that you may or may not be able to see in the picture, you can also see it down here. So it's showing up both here and down here, which means I've split that beam so that it's hitting here and down there. So I'm going to call that good. And if you look up at the DRO for the Y-axis, it's at 1.422. And you notice there's not a negative symbol there, so it's a positive number. So I'm going to write that down on a sheet of paper as my Y-axis offset. Okay, now I'm going to change my jog units back to, let's go to 1/2 inch, because I'm going to jog over to this area over here and do the same thing I just did there. So we're just going to click this 3 times here. That looks good. And now we're going to come over to the side of it, and we're close. This time I'm going to set my jog units for the x-axis at, we'll just say 0.008, 8/1000 of an inch. So it'll move a little quicker this time. And then once we get where the laser beam is split again, we'll use that for an offset. Ooh, that's awfully close. I'm thinking that Maybe that's too far over. So I'm going to change this to 0.002. I could go to 1,000ths, but the resolution on the X-Carve doesn't really get that low anyway. So that's looking pretty good. Give it one or two more clicks here. I think that's it right there. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to write that one down, and that's negative 3.064. Okay. So I'm going to turn the laser off, so we don't have to worry about that. Now let's go back to the toolbox. This time we're going to go to the, instead of going to standard G-code, we're going to go to laser. And we're going to put the offsets in these boxes right here that we just wrote down. So my x-axis offset was minus 3.064. My y-axis was 1.422. And my z-axis, which we already knew what that was, 2.75. Once we have those in there, that's the wrong measurement there, so make sure that's correct. And that's 589. And laser zero text is what we're going to call that, and I think I already might have one in there. Yeah, I'm going to delete that file. So go back to the toolbox. Now there's our bit diameter, there's the touch plate measurements, and there's our offsets for the laser. So we're just going to say generate G-code, and it's there. Incidentally, these down here, these steps, when I release this is going to have instructions that I'm giving you here in the video, and they'll show up right over here when you click on them. It'll tell you what to do in different steps. Okay, so we got our G-code. Let's go back to PicSender and load that file. So laser zero, open. Now we got to go back to spindle mode. Don't forget to do that. And to say OK to the warning. And so now I'm going to jog the machine back over so we can run our last zeroing. This should be the end of it right here. Okay, I'm getting a magnet up there on those threads. And like I said earlier, I think I told you, make sure that your threads are clean. I took just a blue shop towel and hit my threads, and maybe you can see this right here. You can see how dirty they were. That will interfere with your zeroing. So make sure it's clean. Okay, let's get the z-axis down. One more. Yeah, I'm going to move it over just a tad more. There we go. Okay, again, I'm going to hold on to this just to make sure it doesn't move. And let's see if we have the right file loaded. Lasers. I'm going to load that again because I don't remember if I loaded the right file or not. Laser zero. Okay, send. X. Here comes the Y. Okay, my probing X. And the last Y. And the Z-axis is done. Okay, I'm going to take my magnet off and my touch plate off. And I'm going to, again, tell this machine to go to 0. If you notice, these numbers are completely different than what they were last time we zeroed. So go to 0 for the X, go to 0 for the Y. And go to 0 for the Z. Now you'll notice the spindle's way over here when it used to be way over here, but this is where the laser is. So let's switch over to laser mode. Say OK to the warning and turn the laser on. And look at there, right on the corner. It looks a little funky, but I can tell you that this corner of the MDF is a little bit rounded over. This is just a piece of scrap I had laying over on the floor. If you have something with a nice sharp corner on it, it'll turn out just right. But you can take this loose from here now and move it to wherever you want and re-zero it, and you'll get the same zero location every time. So that is laser zeroing on the X-Carve. Well, I hope you stuck around long enough to see the end of the video. A couple of things that I didn't mention in the video. Once you have gone through this process that I just showed you, you don't have to do it again. You will have created a laser zeroing G-code file that you can just run by itself. Just remember that every time you run it in spindle mode, because you have to adjust your Z-axis when it's running. And after it's finished running the zeroing G-code file, then just make sure you click on the go to 0 buttons for all 3 axes, and it'll position your laser right over the top of the XY corner and raise it up to the preset height where you can focus your laser. And once you have your laser all set and focused, you won't even have to mess with focus anymore, because it doesn't matter what the thickness of your material is, it will always zero right to the same spot. So because you're using the touch plate to set your Z height. So that'll work pretty good for you. And like I say, you can zero part of your project today, take it off, carve an emergency project or whatever, and then replace your material back on your wasteboard and continue working on that same project you started the day before or whenever. You notice that I did not have a collet nut installed or a bit. The reason for that is when you're zeroing your laser, you're going to be pretty low with your Z-axis, and it's really easy to hit a clamp or something. So the safest way I found to do that was just remove the bit altogether, so it's not a factor. And as far as how do you get this, if you're already a Triquetra Touch Plate owner after January 2017, you already own the toolbox. You may or may not have it, but you have rights to it, at least the right to use it. You don't have the right to sell it, but you do have the right to use it. If you haven't downloaded it and you'd like to get a copy, email me, and if you're entitled to a free copy, I will send you the registration information and how to download it. If you purchased your touch plate prior to January 1st, 2017, email me again and I'll send you a discount code that'll take $15 off, so it'll only cost you $5. And then I'll send you the registration and download instructions as well. If you do not own a Triquetra Touch Plate and you purchase one, it automatically comes with it. Unless there's any other questions, happy zeroing for lasers now. You can always leave a comment below or hit the like button if you like to. I joked about that once before. It really doesn't matter to me if you click that button or not. It's always nice to get a like, never nice to get a dislike, but hey, if you don't like it, you don't like it, right? So anyway, but you can leave comments and I'll answer them for you, or you can just email me direct from and you can do that from my website, or you can just email me at charlieintexas@gmail.com. So until next time, happy zeroing, guys and gals.